They know the food's coming now. Now, people always want to ask me what ratios and percentages there are of soil to sand to gravel. Let stuff grow wherever it wants. I mean, I pretty much do that on most of my tanks, don't I? Look at these guys lip locking. Hey, that could be interesting. Could be interesting. I love you. I love you so much. So many people ask me what substrate they should use. Now, the truth is, you should use all of them. Now, let me explain. I know what you're thinking, MD, that doesn't really help us. But what I'm trying to get at is that, you know, certain tanks can have really high nutrients, some can't. That's why some substrates are better for certain tanks than others. Yeah, that's right. Now, the majority of my tanks are known by most people as low tech or low energy. What that basically means is that I don't run CO2 injection. I don't have really high powerful lights. I mean, for instance, this tank is just a cheap sort of strip LED, like a budget friendly one, no CO2, a couple of canister filters, one of which is an expensive one, one's a very, very budget one. The only reason I bought the expensive one is because it had the built-in heater and I didn't want to see it in the aquarium, but it, you know, it's not absolutely essential. So low-tech tanks can be typically a little bit more fiddly to set up and keep plants growing right without getting tons of algae. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's hard with high-tech tanks as well, but it seems to be the case of CO2 just sort of balances stuff out. I've had quite a few people say to me actually that they find high-tech tanks easier than low-tech tanks. Now, I think personally one of the reasons for this is because you have to keep the nutrients low in the substrate. Now, I'm not talking non-existent, but they do need to be quite low. Take, for example, my Buddha aquarium. Now, this is probably the lushest growth I've ever had in any tank. Underneath this decorative sand you can see in the foreground here, there's just a big layer of my homemade mix. I also planted API root tabs into the gravel when I set it up, and I used the API leaf zone after every water change as well. I was going to show you like a side angle just so you can get a better view, but if I remember rightly, I put this neat sand down the side as well. Anyway, it's over here. So this, guys, is what I'm talking about. Every time I break down a tank, I just put all the stuff that's underneath the decorative sand in here. This stuff is all fresh at the top from a tank I've just broken down, but underneath is from old tanks. No, not that. There we go. This stuff here. So look at that. That's just aqua soil, sand, gravel, absolutely everything goes in there. But if you look at my hand after I've touched it, look, it's not all dirty, it's just sandy. That's because it's not full of like soil and things like that. There is soil in there, don't get me wrong, because some of my tanks have had dirt in, but it's everything. The predominant thing in there though is going to be sand. Now, people always want to ask me what ratios and percentages there are of soil to sand to gravel. Truth is, I can't tell you, but I can say that it roughly works out 30, 30, 30, or 33, 33, 33 recurring % of each. Just because that tends to be the way I set up the layers. It always has been, and it's always worked quite well. Click subscribe. Oh, here we go. How did I forget? I could show you a really good example on my sort of Dutch hybrid aquarium. It's a hybrid aquarium because it's not fully Dutch. There's hardscape in it, but I wanted to do a nice little border. Anyway, this can show you at the side here how much of that stuff we use. Is loads of it all along the side. It's really hard to focus on it. Hang on. There we go. I think we're seeing a bit more of it now, but it's quite dark. Anyway, this aquarium is a really good example of what you can do with low tech. So there's never ever been any CO2 in this tank. It's been set up for about 4 weeks now. You can see that it's purling and everything like that. It's doing great. A slightly stronger light than I'm used to, hence why we're getting a little bit of the green dust algae on the rocks, but I don't mind that. I think it looks great. We've got an auto sinkless cleanup crew over the side there, and there's about 10 Amano shrimp in there as well. I don't think we can... Oh, there's one. Hello, my friend. Thank you for doing such a beautiful job. Oh, there's 2. Hello. Good job, guys. Great seeing you here. Oh, and 1 Neurites now. Hello. Munching away. He's doing great as well. This aquarium is awesome. It's kind of going to be like a grow out tank for my plants so I can trim them. But yeah, going back to the substrate, the reason you clicked on this video. A third sand, a third aqua soil and a third gravel. Now the gravelly layer I tend to put right down the bottom, then I start filling it out with more sandy stuff on the top. And if you can't see the layer, like on this one, I just don't bother capping it. I just leave it as it is. It's no problem at all. If you can see it, then I just take the decorative sand you can like see in the foreground and just spread it across the back as well. But there's no need to in this case. And look how well the plants are doing. I mean, that is in part because this tank has got a brighter light than usual. I wouldn't say it's high tech though. All we've got is a hang on the back filter. And this all came as a set, to be honest. It was really, really affordable. It's from Superfish, an awesome tank setup. They've done a great job, this company. I'm not affiliated to them or anything, guys. I just, you know, the more people that get into the hobby, the better, isn't it? Well, look at this Rotala Macadundra. That's doing really well. That's normally something you have to have high tech for to get it to look like that. Nope, not the case. The reason people suggest you need high tech is because they'll suggest you'll get algae with the amount of light it would take to get this plant to grow. But as you can see, if you keep the nutrients right in the soil, so there's not so much floating around in the water column, then you seem to be all right. A good cleanup crew as well, and we've got the balance just there, just right. I don't know. And then maybe you just go for no substrate at all or very minimal, like this one here. This is my discus tank. Hello guys. Yeah, so I've just done a big hack back on their tank. You may remember from some recent videos that the moss in the foreground here was just absolutely huge. I've cut it right back. I think it was causing some serious flow issues and causing dead zones because the cyanobacteria that I had, it was that, by the way, it wasn't algae, just came back in droves. It was everywhere. It's really starting to clear now. You can see a little bit of it on, there we go, look, there's a good example. So yeah, you can see there, it's kind of like breaking off. You can see the new growth coming through. So hopefully this will be the end of it. I said that so many times. I'm expecting it to come back, but that's not really going to bother me. I'll just keep treating it again. I mean, eventually soon I want to change this whole scape. So my point of showing you this one is that if you have a small amount of substrate like I've got here and high flow, it will tend to get blown into one area. But also, I didn't fill out all the gaps in between the wood and rocks when I built this, and I think that's where there's little pockets of sort of dead food and everything. Now, look at these guys lip locking. Hey, that could be interesting. Could be interesting. Oh, I love you. I love you so much. Oh, I love you too, but go away. Sorry. So yeah, because the fish produce so much waste, and I think there's some dead pockets and areas where waste is just sitting, I think that's what's causing the high sort of organic levels in the water and causing issues with the plants. I do want to rescape this whole thing soon. I think what I'm going to do is set up a tank for these to go in temporarily. And I've got a bit of a space here that's not really doing anything apart from the bowl, but I can move all of that and just set up a temporary tank the same size as the goldfish one. Oh, goldfish update, guys. Pumpkin, still vertical, but she's still eating and doesn't float to the top now, just sort of stays there, which is really weird. I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything. I've done the salts. I've done taking her out and done bath salt. I've done the pee. Matt from Made Ahead Aquatics said to me that sometimes if they've got an internal issue, then, you know, there's no treatment for that. That's just how they've grown. Maybe it'll sort itself out. I don't know. But, you know, she seems happy enough. Doesn't seem to be struggling, apart from with always being vertical. I mean, I don't want to euthanize or anything like that. She seems okay. And as soon as I sort of, you know, give the indication that there could be some food, look, see? It swims absolutely fine. It's just when resting. Even now, look, see, it looks good. It's just when it stops moving completely to rest, goes vertical. So I think just let it be. Let nature take its course. Hopefully she'll be alright. Maybe she won't. Who knows, you know? This is the risk you take with fancy goldfish, I guess. So some key points here. If you're going to use an aqua soil and you've got a powerful light, but you're not running CO2, you will probably get algae issues. The reason being, obviously, that there's quite a lot of nutrients in an aqua soil, so it's going to leach into the water. Now, you can combat this with loads and loads of water changes, like really regular water changes. And this is particularly true in a new setup when the plants aren't really established. So you could set up a new tank, aqua soil, high light, and then just be like in a week's time covered in algae, and that can be really disheartening. But it's just because the plants haven't, you know, established themselves yet. Once they start growing and pulling those nutrients into their root systems or leaves, then you'll actually reduce the algae, but that can take a long time. This is why for most of my setups, which are low tech, I like to go with half aqua soil, half sand, or quarter aqua soil, quarter sand, whatever, you know, with the mix, and then capping it over. You've got the nutrients in the soil then, but it's not going to be so high that it's going to cause algae issues in these low tech systems, but you can still get a decent amount of light. So take my Buddha tank for instance. This is looking great. It's got a really high light. I need to change that little white spot there, don't I? Because it's causing the whole camera to go out of whack and make everything dark. But it looks great, doesn't it? Look at how well the plants are growing in. This is like a medium range light. That's about 50 quid or $60, $70. So you can see though, it's actually really powerful light. It's beaming down on that tank. Now there's no CO2. I mean, the filter is barely even push. Is that even on? Yeah, it is on. I just need to clean the pre-filter so that it speeds it up a bit. But the plant health, look, absolutely brilliant. Everything's looking so lush and good, isn't it? Moss going crazy. This is that repens, that I can't remember what it was called, something repens. Anyway, that's looking so good. Spreading runners, and the hair grass as well, look, sending out runners and starting to carpet. That's looking really nice. But if you look at the gravel, it looks just, you know, inert, doesn't it? But that's because underneath there is where we've got all the aqua soil that I said about. You know, so it's like a third aqua soil, third sand, third gravel, and then capped with all this decorative sand. And as a result, look, you don't get a ton of algae. There is definitely algae in here. So if you look on, is it picking it up? There's like a little bit of string or hair algae on some of this moss, but I'm not too worried about that. You know, you can accept a little bit. It does need another trim back again, but it's starting to get thicker and thicker, and it's starting to look so good, isn't it? Oh, what a great tank. Oh yeah, just so you guys know, fish for this tank coming soon. It's ready, isn't it? One more trim back and then we can get the new fish coming in here. I'm going to start off small and slow and then build as we go, just like I did with the Amazon aquarium. Speaking of which, right, there we go. That should stop reflections. Oh, well, not those reflections. Hang on. So here is the Amazon aquarium. You've all seen this now. It looks great, didn't it? I've let it do its natural thing and just let stuff grow wherever it wants. I mean, I pretty much do that on most of my tanks, don't I? But there we go. Oh, look, there we go. There is our ram. That's a German blue. That's the male. Where's the female then? Right in that small gap. Can we? There she is. Hopefully they're going to pair up soon and we're going to get some babies. But I tell you what, I absolutely love rams. So I've been doing species only tanks, or, you know, species specific tanks like the Apistogramma tank, and also I'm doing the Crebensis tank. I really want to do a ram tank as well. Maybe some electric blues, some Germans, some Bolivians. I really like Bolivian rams. They're a little bit understated, but I really like them. So yeah, anyway, this tank, the idea with the substrate on this one was to create something that was kind of realistic to what you would see in the Amazon rivers. So a lot of sort of white and pale yellow, that sort of look. And I think I've achieved that. But underneath this, guess what? Same as what we did over in that aquarium there. There's a much thinner layer at the foreground because I wasn't actually planning on having any plants here, but they decided to like carpet really well. I want this area more bare, so that's why I keep pulling them out, and those have grown back in no time at all. But yeah, it's a really, really good look, isn't it? I absolutely love this tank. This tank's always full of action and always fun to feed as well. They know the food's coming now. Oh my goodness. Right, calm down, calm down. Feed them this flake food from aquarium. It's really good. Watch this, big pinch. Okay, guys, ready? Go, go, go. And I just do that, look, and then they get it all themselves. Look, none of it will touch the floor. Now for the bottom feeders, I feed a pellet as well. I'll do that in a minute, but one hand is now wet, the other hand's holding this camera, so I'm going to struggle with it. Look at that though. Looks so cool, doesn't it? The Colombians are massively aggressive eaters, aren't they? Look at that. Little piranhas. They're putting on some really good size now as well. What I love about them is you get that really, really like bright shimmer that you don't tend to get with the other fish. You got blues on them, you got orange, you got red, you got the silver. Such cool fish, aren't they? I'll tell you what would look cool is an even bigger school of them in an even bigger tank. Like I said though guys, 4 foot is about the biggest size I want to do in the studio. When I go to my next studio and we've got more sort of floor space, we can go bigger. Imagine doing this on like double the size. Like, that would be so cool, wouldn't it? Okay, and here's an interesting one for the plant grow out. So this is the ADA Africana. It's supposed to be a low nutrient source, so really good if you're going to use epiphyte plants. That's why I set this tank up to be just epiphytes, which is plants that you attach to wood and decor, that sort of thing. So we've got Anubias there, Pinnatifida, Hygrophila Pinnatifida, that's really hard to say, Java ferns and that in the background, and then just this nice little decorative substrate. It's really nice actually. I've not used it before, so this is all new to me. But, you know, I think you can grow stuff in it as well. The Neurites now are currently having a little party down here. This one next to it, again, same. This is the same as all my other ones. It's really hard to see. I should have planned this better. But down the bottom, okay, so full aqua soil. So remember what I said to you, if you have full aqua soil and bright light, then you will probably get algae issues. Now, this is a little bit different. So we've got this set to like a medium level, this budget LED strip, full aqua soil and no fish. So there's no waste being produced into the tank at all. All we've got is the nutrients from the soil, some regular water changes. This is my plant grow out tank, you see, so we don't really need fish in here. We'll probably get some amanos and something like that later on, but it's quite a new setup and there's no algae at all just yet. But there will be at some point, I'm imagining, because as the plants sort of break down little bits and some parts you can't see, you will start to get organic material breaking down, which will cause algae because it increases nutrients in the soil. But yeah, there's an example of how you can just use aqua soil on its own and be okay. Regular water changes, medium light level, not high light, and no fish. But who wants to do that, right?